1756, responsible liquors.
Good morning, Leonard Fogelman, for Responsible Liquors. This is Menachem Reich, who's the who's the principal of this corporation. I'm sure as you've read from what I've submitted to you, this is a removal of a store. It's not a neighborhood removal because it's approximately 600 feet, which is more than the 400 feet, which is the policy.
And he was just licensed.
He was just licensed a few months ago, that is correct.
So what happened?
I will explain. He wanted to open up a store as quickly as possible. The location on Kingston Avenue, any location on Kingston Avenue was unavailable at that time. He applied on Empire and was approved by the board. He opened up the store on Empire, and even though he's doing relatively okay on Empire, he's determined that the store on Empire is too small for him. He also has issues with the landlord and with water leaks on Empire. But the most important and significant reason for his move is that this is a religious, Orthodox Jewish store, and Kingston Avenue is the place where everybody who is from that Hasidic Jewish community shops on Kingston Avenue. So the move is to Kingston to be where the business will be much more significantly economically important.
Is there any opposition present? If there is, please step up. Let's hear from the opposition, and then we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Chairman, board members, my name is Catherine Churchill. I'm here from Eaton and Van Winkle on behalf of two local business owners. My firm has been representing two business owners. The partner in charge of this case has been out of the country, and we respectfully requested that this be adjourned until he is available to speak on their behalf.
You said you're representing who?
Two local business owners for Eber's Liquor and Wine, as well as Tian Bao Liquors, Inc. In addition, there are other members of the community who would like to be heard.
When you say other members, do they represent groups in the community or individuals?
We have Rabbi Levi Freudlich of the Park East Synagogue, who's also a resident of Crown Heights, and we have a representative from Tang Chang Liquor Corp.
Our next scheduled meeting is July 25th. Would council be available then?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Fogelman?
We do oppose the request for an adjournment. Number one, he has rented the space on Kingston and is eager to be there, assuming you approve it. But then there are also some interesting religious reasons why a delay of even 2 weeks would be significant. And I'd like this gentleman.
Yeah, I would just point out this was filed in May, so it's not as if, July 25th would on the face of it, seem to be a delay, but we'll hear you.
It falls out. There is a religious issue involved in what's happening.
Let's hear about the Armageddon that happens if this is adjourned to July 25th.
It's Zvi Greenberg, friend of Menachem's. Currently the Jewish calendar, we're in the middle of the 3 weeks which commemorate the siege on the Second Temple in 69 AD. It begins on the 17th of this Jewish month, which is Tammuz, and it ends on the 9th of Av, which is the following month. The 9th of Av is the fast of Tisha B'Av, which commemorates the destruction of both the first and second temple. From the beginning, I'm sorry for all this, but from the beginning of the month of Av is 9 days, which is when the suggested hearing would be postponed to. It's a custom in Jewish law not to try any cases before a court in those days. And postponing it to the 9 days is we wouldn't be able to try it because we don't.
Well, we could put it past that,
right? And the reason why that would be an issue is because the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, is preceded by the month of Elul, which is The month of Elul is where everybody buys all their liquor. Between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there's no drinking. It's the 10 days of repentance. And Sukkot, which is the biggest holiday of the year, an 8-day celebration, it's basically, if I could just put it simply, postponing this.
What if we adjourn to August 28th? Is that the
29th?
29th.
I think the way they put it.
What holiday does that conflict with?
I think the most simple way to put this is like this. If we don't have it, we can't have it in 2 weeks. Yeah. If we had it in a month, by the time he'd be up and running, and the first few days of his business are very important to be able to get his reputation out there, it's basically, the best way to compare this would be to shutting down, to letting a toy store open 2 days, a week and a half before Christmas. It's the biggest season of the year.
What happens a week and a half after August 28th? That gets us to about September 10th. What happens on September 10th? You said a week and a half.
Right. So that's the.
What's September 10th?
I don't have a Jewish and English calendar together to compare the dates, so I'm not sure the specific date. Yeah. But the month of Elul, that's the most important month for any kosher wine. That's why
we talk about September or October.
Do you have a calendar?
You're talking more toward October.
If I understand this correctly, it would be a month before he'd be able to get another hearing because
if you can't do it in 2 weeks.
You can't, right? We can't do it in 2 weeks, so it would be a month. And if it's in a month, right now, today the Jewish date is the 20th of Tammuz. It would be the 20th of, which means there would be a approximately 40-day period to the Jewish New Year. That by the time it would take for him to set everything up and get himself out there, he wouldn't be able to be competition for the other kosher store that's
how big a move is this?
600 feet.
So he's got a reputation now.
If I may say,
he's 3 blocks from where he's moving to, so he can establish his reputation now and sell products now.
We are prepared to move forward today.
I'm sorry?
We are prepared to move forward today in deference to issues raised by.
All right. So let's proceed then. We'll hear from you, counsel, in opposition.
Chairman and members of the board, I believe you were provided with a Federal Express package which was sent to you and should have arrived on June 12th. I'm going to go briefly through that now to summarize the main points of our opposition, and then hopefully you'll have a chance to hear from members of the community.
We don't have it.
Don't have that.
Okay. This was sent to Dennis Rosen as chairman of the board, and according to our tracking, it did arrive on June 12th.
It's sent here?
It's sent to 80 South Swan.
Don't have it. No.
With the board's permission, I can take you briefly through this.
Yeah, we'll hear you. No, we'll look at it while you're talking. Go ahead.
My firm represents Eber's Liquor and Wine as well as Tian Bao Liquors, Inc. We'd first like to note, as the board did itself, that the applicant has had this license for only a couple of months before they made an application to relocate. This seems, in addition to other evidence that we're going to discuss, to be an attempt to circumvent the potential opposition which could have been raised during the original application. Now, what's happened is that, first of all, this new location is actually 750 feet closer to the opposing parties. It's going to be on the same street as one of them and down the block from another. It's also going to be inside the Crown Heights designated shopping district. It's currently outside of that district. A review of the video of Responsible's original application before this board shows that they made several misrepresentations to you. First of all, they said that Eber's Liquor sells only kosher inventory. This is not the case. As you can see from Exhibit A in that package, Eber's Liquor has a variety of kosher and non-kosher inventory available and does business from both. They also stated that Tian Bao does not serve the Jewish community. They said, and I quote, that members of that community do not and will not go in. This is not the case. Tian Bao actually has 60% of their business from kosher sales, which you can see from Exhibit B, receipts from Tian Bao's business. Therefore, you can see that both of these stores serve the Jewish and the non-Jewish community. Since getting the license, Responsible has held Sunday hours from 12 to 10 p.m. instead of 9 p.m., clearly flouting the authority of this board. In addition, based on their pricing claims of 50% off of retail, it seems questionable whether their inventory truly comes through licensed New York State wholesalers. In addition, since 2011 and 2012, sales for both Eber's Liquor and Wine and Tianbao Liquors have decreased. If Responsible Liquor comes in closer, it's going to decrease further still, and this is in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. We'd like to hear from members from each of these stores now.
Just briefly, though, please.
Mr. Chairman, good morning, Commissioner, Special Counsel. I shall not detain you long. I come to you as a friend of Mr. Eber and as the rabbi at the Park East Synagogue associated with Rabbi Arthur Schneier. Mr. Eber is a friend of mine. I've been a patron of his store for many, many years. My family shops by him. I have 12 siblings. And when Mr. Eber asked whether I could come today, I called my siblings. I said, has anybody had a bad experience at Eber's Liquor and Wine? And, of course, they said no. The reason I mention this is because in the original argument on the video that I viewed, there was some factually false statements to initially substantiate the claim for a license. I'd also like to respectfully disagree with the council that the store needs to be on Kingston Avenue. Tianbao is on the corner of Albany Avenue. Council suggested that the Kingston Avenue is the exact heart of Crown Heights. Tianbao is a store that's located on the corner of Empire Boulevard and Albany Avenue, across the street from a newly renovated $1 million kosher grocery store. It's also around the corner from the second biggest school in the neighborhood. It's across the street from a kosher cafe and down the street from a kosher fruit store. I promise not to detain you long, and I have a long list of things that I'd like to mention here, but as a rabbi, I'd like to mention one thing. In the video that I viewed of the previous meeting in November 2011, it was mentioned that a religious Jew should not be going to a non-Jewish store to buy kosher wine. That is factually false and untrue. I myself am a customer of Mr. Tianbao. There are 300,000 Jews upstate New York now in Monticello, New York. The busiest liquor store is Realtor Liquors, which is owned by an Indian businessman who welcomes all his Jewish clients on a Friday afternoon. When Mr. Eber asked me whether or not I should come, I agreed wholeheartedly. I think he's an asset to the community. He served the community for 40 years. And his non-parochial approach to always being open to suggestions and new wines and serving the Jewish community is an asset, and I've brought me here today. Thank you for hearing me. Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe that the lawyer and my friend here, Rabbi Levi Freundlich, mentioned everything.
Can you state your name for the record?
Yehuda Eber from Eber's Liquor and Wine.
Thank you.
There's many things that I would like to say, but most was said here. But I could tell you one thing. It was a great shock for me to have seen the video which put the store, Eber's Liquor, in a position, excuse me, I'm a little nervous, but I was shocked to see things that were said about the store that was so untrue. And it was from members of my own community to gain access, to deceive the liquor authority, if that's what it took. I had no words, but I'm really happy that we had the opportunity to be here today, and thank God for the video that's being videoed, which shows all the facts that were said and the evidence that we're able to provide with many, many invoices from Mr. Eric from the liquor store in Albany and Empire, which I'm happy, that he's doing well with the kosher, the wines. So I leave it in your hands to do the right thing, and I thank you for the opportunity.
All right. All right, Mr. Fogelman, we'll hear from you. Let me suggest an order, a sequence on one or two of these issues. What about, and this is one that's objectively, I think, dealt with, it would seem. What about the allegation of staying open till 10 o'clock on Sundays, as opposed to closing at 9, the legal closing time?
It's just simply not true. We weren't even open on most of the Sundays. If we were, it was the middle of the day. He's possibly referring to a graphics mistake based on a flyer, which is a simple mistake. But, I mean, the fact is we were not open in those hours.
All right. Any allegation that they are not buying from wholesalers is
looking at the flyer that was attached as Exhibit C to the opposition's letter in opposition. Among other things, the flyer makes the representation that you're selling at wholesale prices. Do you sell literally at wholesale prices as alleged in your flyer?
No. This was the first week we opened. I did not have control over the design and the details that went into that.
Who was it who composed the text of
one of the suppliers actually was the one that.
Which supplier was that?
One was by Happy Hearts, and the other one was.
One was by who?
By Happy Hearts is a supplier, and the other is.
Wine wholesaler.
And the other is Royal. They were the ones that designed.
So they're the ones who termed this flyer wholesale prices as low as $39 a case. I assume you reviewed the flyer before it was issued.
I did review the flyer.
And is that a true representation?
It was 2 weeks before Passover, and I did see the flyer. It didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to come out.
So you knew this was false?
I would have changed these details myself.
I'm asking you if the representation that you're selling at wholesale prices was true or false.
We did not sell wholesale prices. That's
okay, and this says you do. So this flyer was false.
There are certain things in the flyer that were not true. That I would have changed had I had the opportunity to actually get that. If I would have personally had the control over the design, I would have changed that myself. But they that I did not. Once I asked them to stop that, in other words, not to distribute that. And if in the future I'm personally gonna handle this myself. But this was in the first.
Have subsequent flyers been released? Subsequent editions of flyers been released, or was this just a one-time thing with the store opening?
This was a sale. And I didn't have. I was busy working. I just didn't have physical time to deal with it.
It also says 20 to 50% off retail. What does that mean?
I think that's. Let's get the public into our store. I don't believe that they are selling.
I think this has some reflection on Character and Fitness Council. How you get the public into your store, it reflects to some degree on your Character and Fitness to hold a license.
Mr. Eber had a similar flyer himself, which had.
He's not asking us to do something for him today. We're the one making the application.
I would also like to just, as far as if we're talking about credibility and character, if you look at page 2 of my letter to the board, and which compares the gross sales figures that were submitted by the Eber store at the time my client applied for a license to the figures that the Eber store submitted at the time of this removal, you'll see that
there's a contradiction.
The numbers have changed. The reported numbers have changed for each of the years. So I don't think we can hold Mr. Eber as being.
I don't recall quoting him as the epitome of credibility.
I know you didn't, but I'm certainly.
No, what you're doing is switching the issue. The issue that I'm focusing on now is your client's credibility. That's the one I'm focusing on now. If you want to have a discussion about Mr. Eber, we could have that another time.
Your Honor, if I may, I just apologize for previously. Obviously, as you can see, our opposition is very well prepared. Complete with British accent and all. But the reality is, firstly, I find this relationship between the two liquor stores very interesting because there's a Chang's Liquor 2 blocks away from Eber's, north of Kingston Avenue, which I believe is closer, Eber's and Chang's are closer together than Eber's and this other liquor store on Albany. So it's interesting that...
Sorry, this is the owner of that store.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, it's very interesting because if let's say our liquor store was there, the exact same situation would be in reverse, and we would say, okay, you can't allow Ebers because there's a Chang's next door and there's us down the block. We're not down the block. It's 6 blocks over. You're talking Empire and Union. In addition, Crown Heights, and you can look at the map, I think we provided it, at Kingston Avenue is Main Street in Crown Heights. That's indisputable. All stores, there's redundancy of dry cleaners. I know there's a Happy up north, and there's Quality Cleaners down south. There's supermarkets. There's many, many redundancies on Kingston Avenue and enough business to go around. I believe last time Mr. Fogelman demonstrated this by showing the booklet, the phone numbers of 30 years ago, which was essentially a pamphlet, and he showed that today it's a full volume. The community's more than tripled in 30 years. It's one Main Street. The reason I think my friend Menachem was a little bit perhaps hasty in opening, rushing to get the license and wanting to see a return fast, and didn't have his game together fully. But the moment this opportunity presented itself on Kingston, it's tremendous. Regarding whether or not it would benefit the community, there's no question. Firstly, his current location is on Empire, and there is no parking. The parking is reserved for the kosher store next to his liquor store. Albany Avenue is foot traffic. And to be able to get that optimal location wouldn't take away from Mr. Evers' business because he's doing quite well, which is interesting because if kosher shoppers are going to both locations, you would see a little bit more equality between the non-kosher stores in the area and the Jewish, which clearly there isn't. In addition, the opposition alleged that there was a claim made that Jews wouldn't go into non-kosher stores. That was never said. What was said is that when you're a Jewish, Orthodox Jew, and you shop in a Jewish store, you don't have to worry about picking what's kosher versus picking what isn't. You don't have to look for the OU, and you don't have to look through bottles of wine to see which ones are kosher, which ones are not, which is why Jews shop in Jewish stores. I'm from New Jersey originally. I shop at Walmart and ShopRite like everybody else because there is no strong, big Jewish community in Morristown. It's not that Jews don't shop in non-kosher stores. It's that if there's Kingston Avenue, Crown Heights, the capital of the Chabad movement in the world, everybody goes to the same place. There's 2 scribes. There's 2 Judaica stores. It's a burgeoning community with more than enough money to go around, more than enough business. And I think that to say that, actually, I'll finish with that. But one final thing, if I didn't anticipate, and I think it's off issue to bring up, we're not going to discuss an advertising mistake. He was early. He obviously made a bit of a mistake. But to come and say that there were to say a negative experience or to be worried that someone is calumnizing what they're doing is inaccurate. And in addition, if we're talking about bad experience, as not only do I know people who've had bad experience by others, but I myself do. I don't care to submit it to you, but I could if you want. And I just think that they're much well prepared. They're better funded. But the reality is it's a huge community with plenty of business, and he got a gold mine. Opportunities do not present themselves like this on campus.
All right, thank you. What else?
A couple other things, please. The sales at Eber, I'm not sure which sales figures we should look at, the ones they first reported or the ones they second reported, but their sales are certainly $1.5 million.
Counsel, have you seen Mr. Fogelman's submission where he alleges that different numbers have been submitted to the authority? Yeah, on different applications.
Documents that were submitted to the authority.
Have you had privity?
I had the opportunity to review the submission. No, but I am aware, and I think we all are, that business for both of these liquor stores is going down.
No, but he is correct. It appears that the numbers from application to application that's being imposed change. So that creates a credibility issue as to what the trend is.
Yeah. And in addition, on the first application, they said their store was 2,000 square feet, and on the second notice, they said that their store was 1,200 square feet. So not only did they misrepresent and change their gross sales over the last 4 years, they also seemingly shrunk their store by about 40%.
If I may, is it possible for me to make an offer for them to dismiss this entire point that they brought about credibility?
No, I think we're done right now.
We do have further opposition from the community.
All right, we'll hear.
Good morning, panel. My name is Josh Krauser. I represent the I represent the current landlord of Mr. Reich.
You represent, I
work for, I'm the manager company for Mr. Reich, the current,
All right, so please be brief. What do you have to say?
Since he became my tenant, he never paid his rent on time. And it's interesting regarding credibility. When I was in landlord-tenant court with him, there was one stipulation in the lease that he had to do repairs.
I say you his current landlord, or
yes, I'm his current landlord.
So why wouldn't you be happy that he'd be going?
Well, I don't want him to go.
All right.
I'm just thinking they asked me to come, saying certain facts. First of all, he happens to be next to a large kosher supermarket. Secondly, he never paid his arrears. And then when he was in court with me, he whited out part of the stipulation the first time we were in court.
So you still in court? Are you still in LMT court with him?
The rest, well, yes.
All right. All right. Thank you. Counsel, I would like Mr. Eber to address this, and I'll give it to you. It's letters to the authority when he was asked to submit his prior sales, and they give different numbers for different applications. One is dated August 23rd of 2011. The other is dated May 30th of 2012. I'd like you to show them to him right now, and I'd like to perhaps there's an explanation.
Okay. It's very simple. My father's one who filled out this paper here and was faxed over. He got the numbers, I think, from the accountant. I'm not sure exactly where he got it from, so I'm really unfamiliar how he got the numbers. I'm sure for further homework, we can figure out what the numbers are.
So, which is correct? The August letter, or the May letter? The other ones, if you turn the page, you'll see the other letter. And who submitted that? Your father or you? Who sent that to us?
My father had it filled out. He spoke to the accountant. My father hasn't gone to college. He's a very straight shooter.
He filled out,
yes. As you see.
So the same person filled that out?
1 second. Where's the second one here?
It's just two letters. One's on the back, on the overleaf.
Yes, it's signed by my father, and he would be the best person to ask.
All right, so the same person came up with the two different figures.
How he came up with the figures, I do not know. And honestly, there was a mistake somewhere, because you can look at the records of 40 years in business. He's as straight as an arrow.
All right, I'll take it back.
It was somewhere, for sure.
In addition, Chairman, if I could briefly point out that the flyer, which gives their hours on Sunday, being until 10 p.m., is not the only place where that hour was listed. In the same exhibit that you have before you, there is a printout from a web page that gives those same hours as being until 10 p.m. on Sundays.
Right.
But they are not open until 10 p.m. on Sundays.
Well, currently they're not open at all, from what I understand. The store is currently closed.
The graphic designer might have made a mistake, but we were never open those hours, never.
Mr. Fogelman, are they currently in landlord-tenant court with their landlord?
I have no idea about that, so I will ask my client to address that.
Are you currently in landlord-tenant court?
We did go to court. We had issues with legal.
Are you currently in this is a yes/no question. Are you currently in landlord-tenant court?
I believe we are. I believe we have a resolution over there.
Are you currently? You got to give me. If you don't give me a yes/no answer, I'm voting to deny your application right now.
We are.
So here's the question. Yeah. And if you give me anything other than a yes/no answer, I'm denying your application. The question is there a proceeding pending in landlord-tenant court right now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Are you open and operating at your current location right now?
We have.
You're operating.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just if I could address what we did have issues with leakage from the second floor.
Okay, I don't want to get into whether or not you have a leak. Mr. Fogg, we'll hear from each of you 1 minute each, and then we're voting. 1 minute, Mr. Fogg.
In addition to submissions I gave from the head of the chairman of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, and from a state assemblyman, I also have a letter from a state senator, which discusses Mr. Reich, and we also have additional pages with perhaps 150 signatures on it In the letter from the chairman of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, he writes, prior to the opening of Responsible Liquors, Crown Heights consumers were forced to shop in the one kosher liquor store in the neighborhood. The opening of Responsible Liquor by Mr. Reich was a boon to the community and a major convenience. However, the initial location on 511 Empire is an out-of-the-way location, which isn't part of the main shopping strip of stores servicing the kosher consumer on Kingston Avenue. The letter from the State Assemblyman states, this move will bring Mr. Reich closer to his consumers and grow a local business to the benefit of the community and my district. That is from State Assemblyman Kareem Kamara. And the letter from the State Senator that I just submitted is of a similar tenor. So, I really, as far as, excuse me, I believe that this move of 600 feet cannot cause any detriment to any of the other stores and will certainly be very valuable to the shoppers.
All right, thank you. You have anything you want to
No, I don't think there's say anything else.
First, all members of the community agree that the store is currently closed. There was a for rent sign on it, which has now been taken off. The current location is in between two supermarkets, one of which is a kosher supermarket.
You don't know where he is now?
Yes.
So you're saying he hasn't been operating?
He has not been
operating. You just told me he's operating.
They've made numerous
Mr. Fogelman, is your client open for business as we stand here, as we sit and stand here today?
Today the store is closed. He is here.
Was it closed yesterday?
He was open last week. He was open on Friday.
My question was he open yesterday?
Yesterday he was working on his preparation for today. He has been operating a store.
So he closed the store yesterday all day to prepare for this appearance?
That is what he was telling me, yes, Your Honor.
And what was he doing Monday?
I was preparing for this.
Okay. So all day yesterday you were preparing for this. Okay. And the store was closed. Over the last 2 weeks, how many days has the store been open?
It's been on and off. The hours were not steady. Simply
Why?
Because I'm one person, and I had to put together all this material.
You submitted an application, and your license was approved based on the hours in the application that you said you were going to be open for business. And you're supposed to be open for those hours that you represent to us you were going to be open.
Temporarily, for this hearing, I had to prepare everything myself. So I wasn't able
Right.
The importance of the move for him has caused him to choose to dedicate his time to removal application, so he has not fully been open on a very consistent basis. He has been open, the store has not had a gate in front of it and has not been closed.
Chairman, their current location is in the heart of the Jewish community. They are surrounded by kosher supermarkets, a school, across the street from a synagogue. There's absolutely no basis for stating that this is inaccessible to members of the Jewish community. In addition, they've made numerous misrepresentations before this board and have clearly disrespected your authority and don't understand the regulations that they're expected to uphold. Allowing this move to go forward would be detrimental to the neighborhood, detrimental to the already existing liquor stores, and possibly detrimental to a new landlord if they decide not to pay rent there as well.
All right, thank you.
A resident of the community.
We're done. We're going to vote now.
I'm ready to vote. I deny the application. I'm not confident that the representations of your client has justified all the issues that have been brought up. So really his character is at question based on the advertisements, based on his representation when he originally applied to the board. It seems as if this location is something that he may have known that he wanted to move, and it appears as if he wanted his license here and was ready to remove it as soon as he possibly could. And the justification for the removal, you're in the same area, you're in the same neighborhood. They're about 600 to 700 feet away. I'll deny this application.
I vote to approve, but that won't do you any good because a tie vote is a no. I don't like the way you've been operating, and I don't think you've been forthright with this board, but that's a different issue, whether or not you should have a license at all. The fact is you do have a license as you come before the board, and the limited question before us is whether or not we should permit you this removal. It is only whatever it is, 600 feet, so right now those people are your competitors anyway, so I don't think this dramatically changes the competitive landscape. Also, the distances are reasonable, I think, between you and the other stores. Some of them are doing very well. I think there is a question about some of the numbers that have been submitted by at least one protester. So that I would vote to approve. So it's a tie, and that's a no. Thank you.
You're done. You're done.